Welcome back, folks. So, what I want to talk about for this part of the game is why is an AD carry important? Why does an AD carry scale so well? So, let's really quickly talk about the items an AD carry gets. The items have attack damage, critical strike chance, critical strike damage, attack speed, and Last Whisper also has armor penetration, so does Brutalizer, but that's not too common on AD carries. At least ranged AD carries. Some AD carries do get them, like Urgot. So why do you scale so well as an AD carry? So let's imagine this scenario. You do 100 damage, you attack once a second. You buy an item that increases your damage by 100, so you do 200 damage now, and it really hurts. You buy an item that increases your attack speed by 100%. So now you attack 2 times a second, doing 200 damage every hit. And let's say you buy an item that increases your critical strike damage to 250 and gives you 100% critical strike chance just to make this really, really easy for me. So you go from 200 damage attacks every half second to 200 damage attack with 100% chance to do 2.5 times damage, so 500 damage every half second. Now, the way AP scale tend to be, well, your AP goes up, your damage just goes up very linearly. What happens with the ADs is these items will combine, multiply each other, and just get much, much stronger as a whole. And it's the reason that ADs scale so well. It's the reason that you'll see like 800 damage crits every half second, or more actually, can happen, coming from these ADs, and you'll just be like, whoa, where's all that damage coming from? And you'll just die and feel bad because the AD hit you 4 times, and you're a Mundo with 1,000,000 armor and your ult, and you still died instantly. And that's because they just scale so well. It's all in the math. I don't want to really outline the math here. There are people who can do it very, very well, and not in a video format, which I don't recommend for actually looking at the actual math. I believe a different view on Reign of Gaming has an article on it. If not, ask a nerd. Any nerd with free time will just be able to bust out the math and be like, hey, here's why AD carries do so much damage. And of course, it's important that the damage is ranged. Talon, for example, he could actually try and fill the role of an AD carry, but because he's not ranged, he's just going to go ahead and die every fight. And he may not get his auto attacks off because he has to stay in melee range. That's why someone like Ashe is actually a very, very strong late game carry. Because her steroid isn't that good. Her passive is awful late game. I mean, you get a free crit at the start of fights, which is nice, actually. But it's not a steroid. Volley's pretty good, but it doesn't scale with crit or attack speed, just attack damage. But she has very high range at 600, and she has Frost Shot, which will keep people in range and let them constantly be hit by you. Most of the time, some characters can get away, some characters are just way too fast or Cassidon. But the entire point is you have more or less guaranteed damage on a huge cast of characters. Now, that is just my rant on why AD carries are so important, and because I feel like that's something a lot of people don't really realize. Actually, mid-game, you'll generally see AP carries are much, much scarier because their base abilities will do more damage, and then they have the raw AP, which, even though it's scaling linearly, actually, would it be linear? Forgetting my terms. Even though it scales at a very normal rate, it's still really high because it happens so fast, and the ADs haven't really had a chance for all the math to kick in and beat each other up. Anyhow, let's jump into part 2. I felt like the speech was needed, but let's go. So last we left off, the enemy team had just lost a team fight, and they were ready to, try and do something about it. So let's look at blue team's team. They have Morgana, Rumble, Vladimir, Udyr, and Leona. 3 of those characters have massive AoE potential. 2 of those characters are great peelers and can, kind of lock people in place as that AoE goes out. They actually have amazing team fight. What they don't have is a great assassination team. So in this case, Riven's able to escape because of her mobility, and just the mobility in general on red team is much greater than that on blue team. They have Olaf, they have Riven, they have Corki, Janna, only Vhagar, in all of his tininess, cannot move quickly, but it doesn't matter right here, because as you saw before, Vhagar and Corki are split pushing mid. That's huge. We have a 5v3 up top, Riven is incredibly low, so she can't really fight very well, and a split push down mid. And what's going to be worth it in the end? Well, not every team fight was created equally. So here, Blazing Toaster is initiated on. He dies. Olaf just burns right through him. Riven dies in the process, though. And now it's a 2v4 with Olaf just going crazy. But a lot of control and a lot of damage still coming out from blue team. That tower actually really gets everybody low, but it's not enough to kill anybody. Vladimir is so low. Oh my god. Wow. And they lose this fight. Except they won the war. So not every team fight was created equally. In this case, blue team went top, were trying to take towers, and you know what? If they won that team fight, they could have taken the tower. They would have lost the game if they kept pushing. Because Vhagar and Corki were mid, just doing work. And you have to learn when to fight and what to do with the fights you win. In this case, they really lost that fight. Because if you are Riven, Janna, and Olaf, do you care if you die, but take 3 map objectives and a really important map objective at the same time? No. I mean, okay, they might have gotten another turret. They might have gotten a 3rd turret, actually, if they killed more of them. But that's all they were getting. They weren't going to win the game. They weren't going to do a whole lot of damage overall. And that was just awesome for them. The fact that they held out so long and even got a kill makes it that much better. But you know what? They still won that fight because they took objectives as it went on. So, red team's actually very, very bad at team fighting. I mean, Olaf is going to rush in, Riven's going to rush in, Vhagar's going to try and assassinate somebody, Janna's going to try and protect Corki, but like they don't have a very cohesive team fight team where you just go, oh yeah, that's what they do. They just follow this very clear process and they'll win. Compared to blue team's press R and win a team fight. So this fight starts off. Vhagar gets a lot of damage onto Udyr, but doesn't kill him, and all of his burst is down. Well, his ult is down. His burst is still there, but a lot of his burst is his ult. So he needs to land Dark Matters to really get that damage off, and the fight starts. Well, the fight's about to start. Note Corki has Quicksilver Sash, but he's at half health. Is it enough? The fight has started. Corki Quicksilver Sash out of there, but Leona's damage is enough to burst him down, and now we have 4v5 with all of these AoE ults going down onto red team, and the assassins are doing what they can. Riven's trying to chase down anybody she can get near, same with Olaf, but they just can't do anything to win this fight. And the question is, well, why did it go so wrong? Well, they bunched up and let the AoE hit them, and Corki also started off that fight dead. And Corki, you know, he's their AD carry. He is the only AD that is in the game, actually, as a ranged carry. But he started the fight dead by getting bursted down by Morgana, so it doesn't matter that he's there because he's gone. And they were able to take advantage of that. They noticed that the sustained damage was incredibly low for red team, because all the sustained damage they had, they could kill. Luckily, Vhagar was able to go ahead and harass the enemy team long enough for Udyr to get killed by Baron, because he was incredibly low after that fight. That burst that landed onto Udyr at the beginning was enough to delay them. Now note, Morgana just went into the brush, and blue team is interrupting this Baron. But they are split. Vhagar also died very late, so he's late to the fight. And this is one of those situations where it's not so much that they could have won the fight or not, it's that they were indecisive and they neither tried to finish off Baron as a team or run away as a team. They tried to run away with 3 people and have 2 people finish off Baron. Or actually, no. Yeah. That was it. And they lost the fight for it. And they're gonna give Baron to the enemy team. And, well, the question is, what could they have done better? Well, communicate better. But unfortunately, solo queue does have that penalty of being solo queue. Had they said, yo guys, let's go ahead and split up, or yo guys, let's just rush Baron and run away, they would have won that engagement, they would have gotten an objective, but they didn't, and it cost them. Now, the score is actually in Blue's favor now, but Once again, blue is good at team fights. What is red team good at? They're good at picking off characters and just bursting one guy down very, very quickly. And with one guy down, they can usually take control of the fight just because they're fairly beefy themselves. So they kill Udyr. And they kill him very quickly because the jungle is just not warded and the very, very high damage coming out from Olaf. So as you can see, he's on to Rumble. He's just doing everything he can before he gets CC'd and dies. Because it's going to happen. He's stunned now. And he does eventually go down. But it doesn't matter because he got so much damage. He just did so much for his team that they're just going to clean up and win the fight. There are 4 people still alive for red team. They're able to take down this inhibitor that they exposed before and actually already killed, and just keep maintaining an advantage, though they do spend quite a bit of time trying to fight. And that's actually really bad because they don't need to, but the inhibitor should not live if they keep up any sort of pressure. And that's actually one thing to know. If there's someone like a support and the enemy team is responding or recovering very soon, just let the support live, get that important objective back up. I mean, if they had just gone for that inhibitor and said, screw off, Leona, you can't really kill us, they would have been fine. Now, once again, assassination from red team. There it is, they assassinated. And you see Dande is rushing the enemy team. He almost kills Rumble on his own. He does die to the AoE. And, well, there's not a whole lot blue team can do about it. They do go for 2 for 2. But there is still a full health red team, and it's now 2 for 3. And what can you do as blue team? You gotta run away. Unfortunately, they actually have Riven and Corki chasing, and they try to recall briefly. And they want to protect this inhibitor still. They don't want to let the enemy team have it, even though they're likely to get it. And I love how this team fight starts. So they go on to Corki. Corki does not really play defensively enough. The Janna ult actually knocks him back towards Corki once more. But Riven just does too much damage, and she's able to clean up Leona and clean up Udyr. Unfortunately, that does delay it long enough. And as you can see, Dande is doing a good thing. He is pinging like crazy. So many back pings went off there. They weren't really needed. Janna, Riven are just destroying the enemy team because you cannot control Riven with the low amount of CC they had coming in by 1s and 2s. And they're able to keep killing her and keep finishing her off. In general, though, if you don't have that massive advantage, you gotta go ahead, you gotta back up, and you gotta say, well, we could keep going for kills, it might work, but if the odds aren't in our favor, why risk it? In this case, the odds are in their favor, so go crazy, but just do what the hell you want. If you're that far ahead that you can be doing this, go ahead, do this, have fun. If you're in a tournament setting, don't do this, don't have fun. Sorry, that's for tournaments, that's for not fun. But if you're playing solo queue, just as long as you don't go overboard, you can kind of do these very, very extreme dives. Unfortunately, you gotta make sure your creeps tank the turret. And this actually prevents red team from winning. Because the fight still goes down. They still want to kill people here. Veigar can really put off quite a bit of burst. Dande just doesn't care anymore and he wants to do damage. But had Riven been there, they might have actually been able to use her ult to finish someone off or use her just high damage. And I really love that you just see the difference between Rumble and Corki here. Rumble's able to do a bit of damage. He's able to finish off Olaf. But Sickio on Corki just kill everybody instead. And that is why you want an AD carry. Because you have this range sustained damage. And you can have an AP carry bottom, that's okay, but if you don't have an AD carry at all, you're just not going to have that sustained damage to win fights or, compete with their AD carry later in the game. Unless you have just the most amazing burst assassination team and you're killing him non-stop. So the chase is on, actually, for 3 characters. Leona and Morgana chase Corki. Veigar kind of does it too, but he's trying to prevent Corki from dying. Janna gets chased by Vladimir and is actually able to escape. And Corki, you think he escapes? He's going to be fine. Nope, Leona flashes and kills him. And Morgana finishes up Veigar. So they didn't win the game, but they're in a position to win the game. And once again, blue team, much better team fight potential. At this point in the game, with the farm advantage that red team has, and just the fact that they have a Corki, they probably still have the advantage. But I like what Dande does. He knows the enemy team has been very, very bad about warding. They got that Udyr pick that completely changed how the game was going. was equaling out, but it just went right back into a snowball. So he knows they've been bad about warding. Why not just try and backdoor? And this is possibly the perfect build for backdooring. Olaf, his passive will increase his attack speed as it gets lower on HP. Udyr does spot him, but his teamfight's getting into a team right now. But that teamfight doesn't matter. They could lose that teamfight, but if Olaf kills this Nexus, they win the game. And can Udyr stop Olaf from killing the Nexus? No, because once again, Udyr's passive and Olaf's passive, and Udyr just doesn't do enough damage. So not every teamfight was made equally. Right there, blue team could have won that teamfight, but they lost the Nexus war. And this is Studio saying, I hope you enjoyed this daily, and yeah, see you soon.